What is up, guys? Welcome back to my channel, and today we're going to be getting into the February 16th edition of the Bracketology here. Not the most games, but we did have some crazy upsets in there from the week, from the Tuesday to Thursday stretch. So let's get into this here. Starting out with the bracket watch, we do still have Purdue. They just barely survive against Minnesota in the Big Ten. Almost lost that game at home. That would have been a killer for their top overall seed right there. But they still got the win, so they're still the top overall seed. First team out is Wake Forest right there. Then the last team in, Gonzaga, kind of survived a scare last night, I think, to Loyola Marymount. It was a close game from what I checked, but it looks like they got the win, and now they are back into the field. So interesting there. But if we look at this bracket here on the bubble, last four byes, we do have Butler, Boise State, TCU, and then Nebraska. Last four in, we have Ole Miss, Nevada, Utah, and Gonzaga. First four out, we do have Wake Forest, Providence, Seton Hall, and Cincinnati. Then the next four out, we have St. John's, Villanova, Colorado, who I believe took a tough loss last night to, I want to say it was, I don't even remember, but I do think they lost. And then Memphis, it was a close game for them. But anyway, let's move on to the movement here. We do have North Dakota new to the field as a 16 seed, as well as Gonzaga new to the field in the play-in. In the Midwest region, Texas A&M lost to, I can't remember, but they got upset. They're dropping down to a 9 seed. Appalachian State's going to be new to the field as a 12 seed. Creighton going to be jumping up to the 4 seed, and then Colorado State falls to a 7 seed. In the East region, all right, obviously mentioned Purdue, the number 1 overall seed. Then we have UConn as that 1 seed right there. Southern going to be jumping up to the 16 seed. Indiana State, right when they got into the ranked field, well-deservedly, they do lose to Illinois State, which is a tough loss, but I still believe in that Indiana State team. And then we have South Carolina, who is a team I'm high on at this point, but they get shellacked against Auburn. That was a tough loss for them. They're falling to a 6 seed. Michigan State's going to be jumping to the 7 seed, and then High Point falls to the 15. In the South region, we do have Houston as that 1 seed, the third 1 seed. Clemson jumping up to the 5 seed. Texas Tech going to be jumping to the 6 seed. Nebraska falls to an 11 seed. Then we have Oklahoma falling to a 7 seed. They got beat pretty bad to Baylor, if I believe. And then New Mexico is going to be jumping to the 10 seed. Oakland, new to the field, as a 15 seed. And then finally in the West region, we do have Arizona clinging to that 1 seed right there. And then we have Dayton falls to the 5 seed, Duke falling to the 4 seed, as well as Yale falling to a 13 seed. And that's it for movement. I also want to mention North Carolina losing again to Syracuse. That really doesn't help North Carolina's case to be a 1 seed. They're going to have to do good in the ACC tournament for them to make it. But let's get into this bracket here. Starting out with the first 4 games, we do have Nevada and Utah. I will have to go with the 11 seed Nevada in that game. And then I am going to go with NC Central to pull off the win over Merrimack. Then Gonzaga versus Ole Miss. I am going to go with the Bulldogs. They're playing good basketball in the WCC right now. Give me them. And then I do have North Dakota holding off Eastern Kentucky. So for a spot in the round of 32, I do think Purdue gets past the 16 seed this time and beats NC Central. Then we have Texas A&M, an 8 versus a 9 seed. That's a tough one. Battle of 2 Texas teams. This one would be a fun one, but I do think I'm going to go with the Big 12 team in Texas. San Diego State, I do think, would hold off Appalachian State. Could be upset territory with UNC Wilmington, but I am going to have to go with Creighton in that one. And then Kentucky, Nevada is an interesting one. I do think I'm going to give the benefit of the doubt to Kentucky there, but I could see Nevada pull off that win. Then give me Iowa State to pull off the win over Vermont. Colorado State, TCU. I'm going to go with the 10 over 7 upset there with TCU, and then give me Tennessee to beat Colgate. All right. Down here, we do have Arizona pulling off the win over North Dakota. St. Mary's, Mississippi State. I am going to go with the 8-seeded St. Mary's. Dayton, Samford. I was debating going with the 12 over 5, but I am going to go with Dayton in that game, as well as Duke beating Yale. And then I'm going to go with the 11 over 6 upset here. I'm going to go with the Bulldogs of Gonzaga here. This one's a little bit more easy for me. I think Florida Atlantic, man, just a horrible defensive team. March Few squad will come out to play. They're coming off a first 4 game prepared. I think they would get that win. And then I do have Alabama pulling off the win over Morehead State. Utah State, Butler. Last time I went with Utah State. Let's flip it up this time and go with the 10-seeded Butler. And then Kansas, I do think, beats Quinnipiac. All right. UConn Southern, 1 versus a 16 seed. I am going to go with UConn. Virginia, I think, would hold off Northwestern. As much as I like Indiana State, I just can't beat them to beat my BYU Cougars in that game. And then give me Illinois to pull off the win over South Florida. South Carolina, still believe in that team. I do like Grand Canyon as well, though, but I do like South Carolina more. Give me them to pull off the win. And then Baylor, I think, would pull off the win over Eastern Washington. Michigan State, Boise State, 7 versus a 10. I am going to go with Michigan State, and then North Carolina beats High Point. So really a chalk region right there. No upsets, even with the 8 versus 9 and the 7-10. But that's how I see it come out in the first round. And then Houston, Sam Houston. I am going to go with Houston. Florida, Washington State, an 8 versus a 9 seed. I am going to go with the 8-seeded Florida. And then I'm going to go with the McNeese State upset here. 12 over 5 upset. Clemson, they're getting a little bit hotter right now. I do realize that, but I do like that 12 seed at McNeese State, one of the best ones out there. Give me them to pull off the win. And then Wisconsin, UC Irvine. I did this upset last time. I'm going to stick with it. I'm just not a believer in Wisconsin at this point. They're losing to mid to bad Big Ten teams right now. I do think UC Irvine, the way they play basketball, decent team, I think they could pull off the win. So we do have 2 big upsets there. We'll have a 12 versus a 13 matchup, which guarantees a double-digit seed in the Sweet 16. But then Texas Tech, Nebraska, 6 versus 11 seed. Why not? Let's go with the 11 seed upset there. Never mind. I'm going to flip this one back. I'm going to go with Texas Tech. That one's a tough one, though. And then give me Auburn to beat Akron. Oklahoma, New Mexico, 7 versus a 10 seed. I do think I'm going to give this one to Oklahoma. And then Marquette, I think, would beat Oakland. All right. So, honestly, compared to our last video, not the craziest amount of upsets in the first round. Let's see if that changes in the second round. Purdue, Texas, I am going to have to go with Purdue. San Diego State, Creighton, a rematch of that amazing Elite 8 game last year. I think I'm going to flip this one up, though, and go with the Creighton Blue Jays, a team I have not been too high on, but I think if this Creighton team can get hot, they can be a very difficult team to beat. So I'm going to give them some love, move them to the Sweet 16. Then Iowa State, I think they got an easy draw there with Kentucky. Give me them to win. And then Tennessee beats TCU. So all chalk in the round of 32 in that region. But then moving on, we do have Arizona St. Mary's, a 1 versus an 8 seed. I do have Arizona pulling off the win there. Dayton, Duke. I do have to go with the Duke Blue Devils there. And then we do have Gonzaga versus Alabama, a 11 versus a 3 seed. I have to go with Alabama in that game. They've just been too inconsistent for me to pick them. And then Kansas Butler, a 2 versus a 10 seed. Why not? We got to have some upsets here. Give me 10-seeded Butler Bulldogs. Kansas is just a team that I've been constantly picking to lose in the round of 32. I think they could do it this time as well. Give me Butler in the upset. And then over here, UConn versus Virginia. I am going to go with UConn to win that one. BYU, Illinois, a 5 versus a 4 seed. Give me my BYU Cougars to beat Illinois in an upset. South Carolina, Baylor, a 3 versus a 6 seed. I really do like South Carolina, but I do think I'm going to have to pick against them. That Baylor Bears team is playing really good right now. So give me Baylor to advance on. And then North Carolina, Michigan State. I'm going to go with Michigan State and Tom Izzo's squad playing good basketball. In the midpoint of January, I was really a big believer in this North Carolina team, but the way they've been playing lately, I just don't know about this team right now. And Michigan State's a team that I just consistently, even in years past, when this team has honestly the past few years been like a 7 seed around there, 7-6 seed. They make some noise in the tournament when they're in that 7 seed. I think they could do it there. Give me Michigan State to beat North Carolina. And then finishing off with this region here, we do have Houston beating Florida. McNeese State against UC Irvine, 12 versus a 13 seed. I'm going to give my love to McNeese State in that game. So we do have that double-digit seed right there. Auburn, Texas Tech, I will have to go with Auburn. I believe that means all 3 seeds prevail in the round of 32. And then Marquette, Oklahoma. I am going to have to go with Marquette in that game. So, all right, for a spot in the Elite Eight, Purdue, Creighton. I will have to go with Purdue, but I could see Creighton pulling off the upset. Cochran, I forgot his name, but Cochran Printer or something like that. With Zach Edey, that would be a great battle. I think it could go to Cochran's, I'm just going to call him Cochran's way, but I do think I would go with Purdue. And then Tennessee, Iowa State, I do have to go with Tennessee in that game. So then down here, we have Arizona, Duke, a 1 versus a 5 seed. I am going to go with the Duke Blue Devils. Still a believer in this team. Had them in the Final Four in my last video. I'm going to continue with it that time. Give me Duke. Then I'm going to go with the 10-seeded Butler Bulldogs. I think if this team could beat a Kansas team right there. Alabama, a team that I think, could go on a run, but I think that defense is going to hold them back. I think Butler, man, a good team out of the Big East, could go on a big-time run. Give me them to beat Alabama. So then we have a 5 versus a 10 seed there. Interesting in the Elite Eight. And then UConn, BYU, I do have to go with Connecticut, man. Too good of a team. And then Baylor, Michigan State, give me the Baylor Bears as a 3 seed to move on. Okay, and then finishing it off with this region, we do have Houston, McNeese State. I am going to go with Houston. And then Auburn, Marquette. I am going to go with the 3-seeded Auburn team. So there we have it. We have Arizona lost. So we have 3 of 1 seeds in the Elite Eight here. But here we go. Purdue, Tennessee. I'm going to go with the 2-seeded Tennessee Volunteers to beat the Boilermakers right there. Don't think it's Zach Edey's time, at least in this bracketology. And then Duke, Butler. As much as I want to go with Butler, I think their run would come to an end against Duke. So give me the 5-seeded Duke team to beat them. And then UConn, Baylor, 1 versus a 3 seed. I do have UConn. Baylor could be a Final Four team if they get the right matchups. I don't see it, though, against a good UConn team right there, though. And then finishing it off with Houston, Auburn, a 1 versus a 3 seed. I kind of want to go with Auburn here, but I think I'm going to give my love to Houston. Haven't really gave them enough justice the past few bracketologies. It's a very good Houston team, a well-coached team. I think they are poised to go on a Final Four run. So give me Houston to pull off the win over Auburn. So then the Final Four, we do have 2 number 1 seeds with UConn and Houston, a 2 seed in Tennessee, and then a 5 seed in Duke. So for a spot in the national championship game, Tennessee, Duke. I do have to go with Tennessee in that game to move on. And then finish it off with UConn, Houston. I just can't see Houston beating that good of a team. So give me UConn in the national championship game. At this point, I'm a believer in both these teams. We do have UConn, Tennessee. I am going to go with Connecticut. Whoops, did not mean to push that. But I am going to go with Connecticut to go back to back, at least in this bracketology. Sorry if you get that. That's my dog barking. But anyway, guys, thank you all for watching this video today. Love pulling out these bracketologies for you guys. But anyway, guys, comment down below your predictions. Peace out.